Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third session of the day, where we'll be discussing some of the disruptive technologies going on in the African continent and the trends the youth of Africa should look forward to. If you didn't have the chance to watch the opening remarks, my name is Omaboe. I am the co-director of the Africa Business Forum. I'm also a general director of the Oxford Seed Fund, a student-led fund that invests in Oxford-affiliated ventures every year. It's my pleasure and honor to welcome you all and to welcome our esteemed guests to this exciting discussion on disruptive technologies going on in the continent. I'm joined today by two superstars that go by the name of Yele and Prince. Starting with Yele, he is the CEO and co-founder of Nestcoin, a company that builds, operates, and invests in Web3 applications with a mission to democratize access to economic opportunity for everyday people in frontier markets. Prior to Nestcoin, Yele was the CEO and co-founder of Bundle, an Africa-focused social payments platform for cash and crypto aimed at driving crypto adoption in Africa and bringing economic freedom and prosperity to the continent. With a focus on developing the blockchain ecosystem in Africa and accelerating Africa's transition into a sustainable and developed economy by leveraging capital, innovation, and policy, Yele is really the perfect individual to answer all our burning crypto questions. And I know for a fact after this call, I'll definitely be addressing and all my crypto questions directly to you offline. So moving on to my good friend, Prince, and one of Said Business School's very own MBA candidates here at the University of Oxford. Prince is the co-CEO of Konga, an online marketplace in Nigeria that has evolved over the years to provide travel agency services, a payment platform, logistics services, a pharmaceutical company, and soon to be a food delivery service. Do let me know if I missed one, Prince. But prior to Konga, Prince launched Udala, pioneering the first composite e-commerce out of Africa. So he really was, in a similar vein to Yele is now, at the forefront of disruptive technology. Having won many awards throughout his entrepreneurial career, he was recently featured on the front of Forbes Africa in an article called "The Leading Africa E-Commerce Player on an Expansion Drive." Gentlemen, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you both.
It's good to be here. Thanks very much for having me. And I've known Prince for a number of years, and I think it's probably like our first panel together. So it's great to be doing this, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Great. I mean, I guess in the interest of time, let's just jump straight into it. So I guess a general question to start off with both of you, we'll start with Yele and then move to Prince. But when you think of disruptive technology, what comes to the top of your mind, and how should young Africans be thinking about changing the status quo with embedded systems?
I'm happy to go first. I think, like, first of all, we have to understand what disruptive technology means, right? So the way I think about disruptive technology is usually something that across one particular variable is magnitudes better than what has come before it. Now, across sort of like other variables that matter might not be as good. And so these technologies are typically misunderstood or underrated. But over time, those layers that, those variables that weren't, as good as existing alternatives also improve, and then tends to sort of, make the incumbents not be or seem as strong as they were, right? So one of the easiest examples for people to understand is kind of like video streaming in the context of, Netflix and, versus, let's say, something like Blockbuster. Now, in the context of Africa, you can think of e-commerce, as a disruptive technology, and then obviously more recently, crypto. A lot of people still don't really understand or misunderstand e-commerce and sort of just how much it has done, within the context of Africa. A lot of people think of e-commerce just broadly as Amazon, but there's so many innovations that have happened over the number of years, from offline to online, more decentralized commerce that is happening on sort of social media. And then when I think of something like crypto as well, really the fact that it's much easier to move value across the continent, in and out of the continent, using crypto, has significant magnitudes in terms of facilitating trade and value transfer, which itself is a platform upon which, billion-dollar businesses will be built over the next couple of years. So for me, that's sort of like the framework through which I think about disruptive technologies. And then as an individual or entrepreneur or business person, you really need to understand, or think about disruptive tech within that lens. And so when you're building a company in the space, you have to basically focus on what makes this disruptive tech really strong and build your company around that, right? If you focus on some of the other elements, you wouldn't get traction, or you wouldn't sort of see, it wouldn't be the right sort of starting point or the high ground you should be going after. And one of my favorite sort of videos that sort of exemplifies this it's a video of Jeff Bezos talking about the internet and commerce, right? And he just talks about how the reason why he went with books for Amazon was just that it's literally impossible for a traditional kind of commerce platform to have a bookstore that has like every single book available, right? And so he pretty much attacked, or focused on what made the internet strong within the context of commerce. So, those are some frameworks that one can apply as an entrepreneur or investor.
Awesome. You touched on crypto and e-commerce, and I think we'll definitely dive into those later on in the panel. But I'd love for you to also just address the same question, Prince. When you think of disruptive technology, what comes to the top of your mind?
I'm going to echo everything Yele said. Of course, there are a lot of opportunities in Africa, especially with e-commerce. The trade in Africa is valued at over almost $1 trillion. So there's a lot of space there to be disrupted. And existing e-commerce players, especially in Nigeria, really capture less than 2% of the market. So the potential market share is still extremely huge. And so there's still a lot of room for new players. There's still a lot of room for disruption within that space. And like Yele said, the blockchain space is going to disrupt. Going to provide we have a lot of problems with access to the financial institutions within Africa. And I believe decentralized finance will go a long way to solving the problem of access. And like he said, in terms of currency, it provides a huge risk it provides a huge platform in terms of hedging against currency risk. And like he said, it's easier to move money in and out of the continent through cryptocurrency. But one thing I'll add is that Africa has a lot of problems. And a lot of people might see that as a bad thing, but I see that as an opportunity for entrepreneurs to shine. I believe that the next phase in Africa is really going to be driven by young people taking active roles in the private market. And that's why the entrepreneurial role is extremely important in today's world in Africa.
Amazing. And that makes a lot of sense. Definitely a lot of opportunity. I think that the opportunity to reshape embedded systems is really what gives a nice opportunity for entrepreneurs, to make way and add to those pockets of prosperity in Africa. But moving back to crypto, so you both touched on that, and I think that there's no doubt that cryptocurrency has the ability to improve financial access across the African continent. But with fintech on the rise, and a lot of mobile money platforms just springing up across the whole of Africa and now taking a lot of prevalence across the continent, where do you see crypto fitting in Africa's financial development story? And do you think it'll take a while for it to become fully on board? What are your thoughts there, Yele?
So I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that crypto replaces or does away with the existing financial system or infrastructure. And I think, there are a lot of comparables that shows us that this is not necessarily going to be the case, right? So even though we have email, people still send kind of, snail mail or send packages every single day, right? Even though you have Netflix, the cinema industry is still kind of, doing its thing. And so, even if we take it home in terms of mobile money and sort of, traditional bank payments and transfer, you have these sort of types of systems still coexisting, and even, you have your landlines in some countries, and, we have our mobile, we have our sort of, smartphones. So in my mind, when I think about sort of crypto, I think you're going to have this coexistence of traditional financial payments and, crypto payments. Now, again, if we think about what makes crypto special, it's literally about sort of the speed of, there's so many sort of, things that make crypto special, but in terms of sort of finance, one of the main sort of, focus areas is like, number one, just even access to some kind of global payment system or network. A few days ago, there was a report of a number of startups in Africa who were losing access to their bank accounts, because they were all using the same sort of US bank, and they couldn't have access to USD. When I was raising money for Nestcoin, a lot of our funding, was done through USDC because it was taking a very long time to open a US dollar bank account, right? So that access to kind of like global financial services and global markets is unprecedented, right? There's literally, if you have a smartphone that is connected to the internet, you can open up a crypto wallet and immediately you can start receiving USD payments, right? And then also the speed, like, again, I remember one of our investors sent us money and we were waiting, we had to call the bank. They sent us like a telex number. We sent it back to them and they were like, oh, we found the money. It took us about 4 or 5 days to reconcile the payment. If I sent you USDC right now and you sent me your wallet address, you're going to get that value in like less than 10 seconds, right? So for us, the speed at which like value can move is unprecedented. Number two is also kind of like just like trust, right? Right now, if a global financial institution sends money to like a parastatal or a government, they can actually track that, the value that they're sending is going to get to the end recipient. And there's no way to know sort of how that value is spent. Crypto and blockchain gives us a certain level of sort of transparency and trustlessness because we can look at the blockchain and you can see how this value has been moved, right? And again, that also solves one of the biggest problems around like a lack of trust or not trust in sort of financial or, of sort of economic institutions because of, maybe you're concerned about like, contracts and sort of, the legal institutions and what happens if something goes bad and etc, right? So making it easy for there to be, making it easy to create like trustless transactions that are transparent, also means that from a capital market perspective, we're going to see significantly more capital flowing into the continent because of sort of the openness of these networks. There are numerous sort of other examples as well, but like for me, those two literally sort of show the potential of this particular technology. Probably a final one is also one of the things that we've created at Nestcoin is a peer-to-peer sort of payment network that essentially allows people off-ramp whatever cryptocurrency that they have into local fiat, right? And it functions very similar to like Uber or like Airbnb. If any company was trying to do that same thing using like traditional finance infrastructure, that is a significant sort of technical and regulatory and, undertaking, right? And so we're able to do this because of the sort of peer-to-peer nature of crypto. And again, these are just sort of like early ideas and early phases. Crypto on the continent is still super early. But I think what's gonna, to summarize my points, we're still gonna have sort of our traditional financial institutions that, doing a ton of volumes and where a good population of people are using it. And alongside it, you would then also have sort of this crypto-enabled or crypto-based or blockchain-based financial services as well.
Incredible. That makes a lot of sense. And you've raised a few points that I would definitely like to go back in terms of the trust. But when you mentioned crypto, occurring concurrently with mobile money payments and traditional banking sectors, I did want to just switch the lens a bit more to the e-commerce space and ask your views, Prince, because you've co-led Konga to become, one of the largest online marketplaces in Africa and Nigeria. I'm curious, one, where you see that industry going, and what you would say to folks wanting to get involved in the e-commerce space, given the huge prevalence of an informal sector. Do you think Africa or Nigeria or the continent as a whole will ever fully make the switch to a fully digitalized commerce environment? How do you navigate it with the informal sector still a big part of the economy?
So I think e-commerce is really an enabler of the informal market. I'll give you an example. Nigeria, like I said, Nigeria is still 98% informal. Mm-hmm. And the problem with the informal market is the shopping experience, right? But these guys are really experienced traders that have been trading for generations. So that's what they do. So as an e-commerce platform, we just come in as a middleman. At the end of the day, we're a platform, right? So we bring these guys onto our platform and they're able to multiply their sales by a certain factor. At the same time, we're able to offer customers millions of products on our platform. So a lot of people come into the space trying to replace the informal market, but we see them as partners. We're trying to get them on our platform and help them increase the amount of sales they're able to get on our platform. So for us, that's really the key thing. And that's why we've been able to build to the point where we are. And we've even gone a step further by trying to help these partners by providing some of them with loans to be able to increase the amount of products they hold on our platform. We also provide them with training in terms of how to import products more seamlessly, how to clear their goods a lot easier. So this creates a lot of value for the ecosystem. I remember I was having an argument with one of our colleagues, Chibueze, yesterday, and he was kind of speaking about how startups in Africa are not really employing a lot of people. But I told him, like, don't just look at the employment numbers. Look at the impacts that these startups are creating. Konga today has a staff strength of about 1,200 people. But in terms of the impact we're creating through our network of franchisees, through our merchants, we're impacting the lives of over 200,000 people. The world is changing from regular businesses to more platform businesses. And the idea behind the platform businesses is you don't need too many people to run the platform. Where the value is created is around the partners you have around you and around the ecosystem you end up building. So that's kind of where we're going. And we see the informal market as key players within that ecosystem. I don't know if that answers your question.
It does. And I actually hope Chibueze is watching right now. So you just added a few points to that argument. No, that makes sense. Working with the informal market, trying to build together and grow together, that makes a lot of sense. So there's a high degree of trust, which is take me back to Yele's point, and I actually do want to touch on that as well. As you mentioned, crypto is a very new space. The blockchain, a lot of people are unsure what exactly it does, the benefits. I want to touch on the key point of trust, because I think a lot of people, the youth of Africa, people looking to get involved in the space, aren't really sure of the financial literacy or the strong backing of crypto and the blockchain. So I'd love to get your views on what you would say to people who doubt cryptocurrency and the blockchain because of the huge volatile swings, or because of the likes of Dogecoin and other meme coins, just producing mass amounts of wealth and also being essentially part of pop culture. What would you say to those who are hesitant because of that?
Yeah, and you should ask Yele if he has any Dogecoin also.
We'll come to that in the quick fire round. Don't worry.
So I think one of the biggest misconceptions about crypto is that we kind of think of crypto as one singular thing. It's very similar to thinking of Africa as one country, right? Crypto is what I call a macro asset class. And that's just because you can literally break down crypto into different types of kind of asset types, right? So you have what is called a stable coin, which is very similar to the USD. The difference is, as opposed to you using a digital wallet or a bank app to transfer the USD, you're transferring USD on the blockchain, right? So if I send you one USDC today, you can convert that USDC into USD if you had a US bank account or any bank that sort of supports the USDC coin. Now, something like that is never going to be volatile. In fact, when you look at the top 15 cryptocurrencies in the world, about 3 or 4 of them are stable coins, right? And so that also begins to show you that there is increasing utility in terms of like stable coins. Then you also have something like Bitcoin, which is, the world's first digital currency, and it's essentially follows the same concept as gold, right? And since the price of Bitcoin is essentially driven by demand and supply, that also has, a fair amount of volatility. But if you're trying to understand sort of like, why, I mean, I can't go into the details as to what makes Bitcoin valuable, because, that is a full 1 hour.
You need another 2 hours.
To understand, the concept of money. But the main thing is, if you have any asset that is scarce and probably scarce, and there are more people that want to buy or hold a particular asset, the price is going to go up, right? That's kind of like the core kind of economic math behind what gives it value. And then you also have sort of, things like Ethereum, which are similar to oil. And, if you think about oil has value, and the price of a barrel of oil kind of, fluctuates. During COVID, the price even went into negative. And then today it's like well above $100, right? And so the same way how you need oil to power pretty much all the engines in the world, you can think of Ethereum as like the oil of blockchain-based applications, right? So the more the demand for Ethereum is across kind of like these blockchain-based applications, the more the value of Ethereum kind of, increases. And then you have, crypto assets like Dogecoin, which are called meme coins. And essentially, the way to think about them it's about giving cultural value, right? So if we think about like Afrobeats, or let's say the concept of Niger is not necessarily Nigeria. It's kind of like, the way I think of Nigeria is like young, digital, fresh, Nigeria, right? And so if you could, that culture and that community has a value, whether we can place it or not. If you could put a monetary value on that culture, that's kind of what a meme coin is, right? And so you're seeing sort of the emergence of social tokens, which are trying to put value on sort of the community or networks of people. And again, that purely is just driven based on sort of demand and supply without any kind of fundamental sort of, value driver for it. And yes, they're extremely risky. But I think like as young Africans, the first thing to do is just even hold the stable coin, right? Like if you held, let's say, the Nigerian naira, and you had $100 worth, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, today the value of your naira in dollars would probably be like 30 or 40%. So even if you were earning 8%, inflation and devaluation has wiped off majority, like a huge portion of that value. So if you're able to hold some portion in stable coins and then even earn yield anywhere from like, 8% to 10 or 12% every single year, that seems like a sound sort of, hedge against sort of, devaluation. So at a very minimum, like that is the entry point. Now, as you spend more time in the space and you get more belief, you can go down that spectrum of going, into the rabbit hole of cryptocurrency and then hold, different types of assets. So that's kind of how I would think about the space.
No, that's a good overview. And in the interest of time, so I really want to get into these quick fire questions, but I'm going to ask you one question each before we get into that. And I would love for you to just 3 words. So first, the Prince. Obviously, you were recently featured on the front of Forbes. What were 3 emotions you felt when you found out about this? If you could say in just 3 words.
3 words. I'll say joy, humility, and relief.
Love it. Amazing. And Yele, in a similar vein, so Serena Williams recently invested in Nestcoin, to drive the crypto adoption in Africa. What were your three emotions?
Excitement, responsibility, and then gratitude.
Amazing. Okay, so I'm gonna try something different. We're gonna get into just quick fire rounds for the last 2 minutes or so. When I point here, that's what you're on my screen, Yele. When I point here, it's you, Prince. Okay. All right. So let's try. So we'll start with Yele. Okay. So Entrepreneur or investor?
Entrepreneur.
Amazon or Alibaba?
Alibaba.
Board App Yacht Club or a Picasso?
Board App Yacht Club.
Of course, you're gonna say that.
Curry or LeBron?
Right now, LeBron.
Okay. Early bird or night owl?
Early bird.
Favorite podcast?
I don't listen to podcasts.
Okay. A book you're reading right now?
Amp It Up by Frank Slootman.
Okay. Ghana jollof or Nigeria jollof?
Come on.
Jollof, man.
Come on, bro. Y'all see some Nigerian guys like
I think it's time to lock it up then. You guys have lost your marbles if you're picking that. But no, we have about 30 seconds left. So I'd love just one final sharp takeaway you want to give to the panelists and, entrepreneurs seeking to get involved and be leading thought leaders like yourselves. What's one key tidbit you would leave them with?
Okay, so I think you have to bet on fast growing markets. When I moved back to Nigeria 2015, it was a dream when Marcus here raised $1 million for hotels.ng. If someone told me that 5 years later, you have an African startup that is worth $3 billion, I'll be like, wow. So if we've done that in 5 years, then what does the next 5, 10, or 20 years look like? So what I would say is, if you're an ambitious individual entrepreneur, bet on Africa. We're going to have 2.5 billion people by 2050. So yeah, join us and let's make Africa great.
Love it. And yours, Prince?
I'll just repeat what I said before. I mean, Africa, we have so many problems to solve. I mean, identify one of those problems, come up with a creative solution, and do your best to implement it properly. Like I said before, I feel like the next wave of movement in terms of economic growth in Africa is going to come from the private market, and it's going to be driven by young people. So this is the right time to take that step. So go ahead and take it.
Awesome. Gentlemen, I thank you both for your time and for a riveting discussion. I'll forgive you on the Niger Jollof, but I'm sure the forum and everyone watching has got some really, really key insights. So a pleasure once again. Thank you. And for everyone watching, enjoy the next session. I believe there's seats at the table. But yeah, cheers, and I'll see you for the closing remarks.
Thank you.
Thank you.